mind? Did I lose my mind? Four, 6, 5, 6. Come on, 4, 6, 5, 6. Excuse me. Oh, shit.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC.
Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a very exciting show for you this morning. We have a couple special guests, and I'll get to those a little bit later on. One being Michael Joseph. You recall Michael Joseph with the Tuskegee Airmen. Well, he's going to bring something to our attention after Hurricane Beryl. He will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. And I have two special guests, in the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. I'll explain that a little bit later on as well. First, a message from last night. I'm completely stunned by what I watched tonight, meaning the press conference with Biden. And more than ever, fear for this nation. What is going on? I agree. But let me also say something that may be controversial. How's that? I believe Joe Biden, with all the gaffes from last night, you know, Vice President Trump, earlier in the day, calling Zelensky Putin, all of the gaffes. I think the press conference was a nightmare for Democrats because Democrats wanted Joe to have a horrible debate part 2 performance. I think the bar was set so low that I think he did enough to keep the conversation going. Hear me out. Keep the conversation going that he can keep running. Now, what do I mean by that? It wasn't a good press conference, but it was much better than the debate performance. So I think, shockingly enough, that press conference was a good thing for Joe Biden. Now, I also, let me preface all this by saying, I do think the end is near. I do believe that the Democrats have had enough. Too many people are coming out now. I don't know when the end will come. And again, it's all up to Biden. Remember, it's all up to Biden. We talked with former Congressman Joe Sempolinski yesterday about it. At the end of the day, it's totally up to one person. But when I was watching the press conference, and I saw specifically the New York Times. And, you know, the New York Times has had the long knives out for Biden for a little bit now. And saying that he needs to step down, and they doubled down on that. And then recently they started fact-checking him. That's not good when the New York Times starts fact-checking a Democrat, calling out his quote-unquote lies. So they have really been gunning for President Biden. And yesterday, and the reporter's name escapes my mind, but asked a question that I think was specifically a setup. As a media person, and have been for now 20, radio, on the communications and Washington side, and now television, almost 25 years. That was a setup, hoping that he would not remember what all the questions were, or how to phrase the answer to the questions. I was shocked, and I was actually a little bit, not in any kind of obvious support of Biden. I was kind of shocked that they went that low with it. Just looking at it from a media perspective. I mean, I would not ask one of our guests on this program, any guest, a question that involved 3 4 movable pieces. I mean, many of them asked, don't get me wrong, many of them asked, oh, I've got 2 questions. Even then, I don't know if you were watching it this way, but I thought, uh-oh, is he going to remember both of them? And he started, and he did. He remembered both of them. But with the New York Times, it just seemed a little bit more drawn out, hoping that he would say even, what's the question again? So anyway, that to me was very interesting. They were hoping for a horrible, Democrats were hoping for a horrible performance from Biden. And though they've got a bad performance, they did not get the destruction, in my opinion. Now, some agree with me on that. I see many in the media disagree with me on that. And again, this is not saying this was a great press conference. It wasn't. It was just better, and I'd say significantly better in some ways than the debate. It didn't start that way. I will concede that. And this doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm going, well, I'm all in for the president. No, I'm just saying, again, that this wasn't as bad as I think all of us expected after that debate performance. I would love to hear your take on it. One comment from a viewer. Question about the Biden press conference. I wonder who decided what reporters got on the list for questions. They know who's actually in control. Very good point. That, to me, not more so, but on even keel with the gaffe at the beginning with Trump and the trailing out and a couple times where he said, well, anyway, when obviously he lost his train of thought. To me, what was jarring is when he said, okay, they gave me this list of names or list of people to call on. And my thought was very similar to the viewers here. Who gets to pick that? Because they shouldn't have picked the New York Times. There's others they probably shouldn't have picked. But also, why not just let the president, if this is completely, quote unquote, off the cuff, why not have him go, okay, you. So, yeah, there's a lot to dissect with this, and we are going to get to that. And I would love, do you think I am completely off the mark? If you watched that last night, do you think that was enough to at least buy Biden time? Again, I'm not saying he's in it till November and perhaps then another 4 years. I'm saying, did that give enough momentum to him and his campaign to say, no, see, wasn't that bad? Because remember, the bar is as low as it can get after that debate. And he was a little bit, I would say even significantly above that bar. But again, significant above a bar that low still is not a great performance. Okay, let's start before we get into that. I've got good news. If you've been concerned about the legalization of marijuana in New York and kind of the wild, wild west nature of it, and how disastrous the rollout has been in the Office of Cannabis Management. Well, they decided to focus, state cannabis regulators have decided to focus on what's important. And that is scrapping a rule that had originally barred the licensed stores. We're not even talking about the sticker stores or the illegal stores. We're talking about the legalized marijuana licensed by the state of New York stores. They were originally banned from offering discounts. That is no longer the case. Yes, the discounts at marijuana stores on marijuana products has been okay because they argued that it put a disadvantage on the legal shops to the illegal operators, which is still amazing that they can't do anything to control the illegal operators. But listen to this. Discounted prices on cannabis gummies, oils, and other items could be offered to seniors. Okay. Military veterans. Okay. And this is what caught my eye. Students. That could mean buying 2 10-packs of pre-rolled joints for the price of one. That's just one of the sales that they suggest. They could also enroll students. Now, we assume that means college students. Students, who knows the way the language has been written from the beginning. Who even knows? They could also offer loyalty programs for special deals for maybe first-time buyers. The restrictions made it much more difficult for dispensary to operate like a regular business in the economy. The new rules will allow dispensaries to operate much more efficiently. Listen, the optics of saying student discounts to me, that's the only reason I mentioned that story. Oh no, I'm going to run late this morning. I can tell already. We're going to have a fun Friday morning. Yes, we are going to talk about the press conference. We're going to talk about the whole G7, everything you need to know. By the way, I know we've received a lot of good comments, but I really enjoyed the conversation with Joe Sempolinski yesterday. And I think we all learned a lot from that interview. And it all boils down to, and I know Hillary Clinton said it at some conference the other day, that at the end of the day, it's up to Biden. And we've got to remember that. And he was very adamant yesterday during the press conference that he's in it to win it, as the saying goes. So, yes, here's how I knew he was doing okay with the press conference. Hear me out on this. Because I was watching it, and about, I don't know, halfway through, I started getting bored because he was actually answering the questions. Here's a comment from a viewer. It absolutely bought him more time. And it's in Trump's favor to keep him in the race. I agree. There's talking of drafting Michelle Obama. Yes, there's always talk of drafting Michelle Obama. And I don't say that lightly to your comment, but yes, there absolutely is talk of that. I don't know what to think of that because Michelle has always claimed she does not want to get into politics, but desperate times calls for desperate measures. So we'll see. I never count anything out, especially the way this election has been going. The nuttiness of it all, I don't count anything out. Maybe Oprah does join in too. You know, all the names they've always thrown around. The Rock. Maybe he joins. I don't know. I'm not, I'm not making light of your comment at all. I do think they're trying. I think there's a lot of the elite insiders that are really pushing hard for Michelle Obama, and I think they have been for a while. There's a piece that we may get to later on that said, now's your time to bow out gracefully. Because remember, the media is in all-out attack mode on Biden. It's shocking to watch. Again, we talked about it yesterday in the program. It is really fascinating to see the media say, you know what, we don't want him anymore. Because we think, at the end of the day, it's not about his health. It's not about the health of the nation. It's about defeating Donald Trump. Because where the main focus is their hatred on Trump. So when they saw that they could not cover up for Biden's health anymore because of that debate performance, they said, okay, the gig is up. Let's go. Let's go after Biden. So the press conference did enough to keep the momentum, or start the momentum again, to keep this alive, at least temporarily, meaning the campaign. Yet there's some of the media that decided it wasn't enough because, again, now the long knives are out. We've got another comment. He was too long on his answers. I know, I got bored. And that was what, I guess that's what got kind of shocking to me. I know I'm going to run late all morning. That's what got shocking to me because I thought, he'd give the quick ones or he'd, skip over when it was a three-parter, two of them. Most of the time he answered them. Again, not truthfully, not factually. Even CNN did a fact check on him, which is another bad sign. They weren't truthful, and some of the things he said were hyperbole or just a major attacks on Trump. That would seem to be his goal last night, be more of a campaign press conference. When I got bored and started, that's when I was like, kind of thinking, that's when I was thinking, wow, this is very different than Biden we've seen recently. That he can actually keep going on a long-winded answer. Sounded like rambling. Shorter would have been better, less chances for mistakes. I agree. I could not agree more. And it did sound like rambling. That's why sometimes he lost his train of thought and said, whatever. Or something. Is that what he says? Anyway. So I do think he lost his train of thought numerous times. Was that supposed to be the positive news, the cannabis? Not feeling it. I know. I agree. Thank you for all the comments coming in already. Yes, I jokingly said that was the positive news. Imagine New York State, as disastrous and embarrassing as the legalization of marijuana rollout has been for the state, that they said, you know what? You know what would be good public relations? if we say that the legal places are allowed to offer discounts to students. Seniors and military veterans, fine. But students, maybe find a different term for it. I don't know. Yeah, no real positive news to start off, I guess, this morning. Unless you're a Biden supporter, did he do enough to save it last night? Let's take our first break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
Look at that beautiful view of Market Street. As we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio, I'm your host, Frank Acom. I'm so glad you joined us this morning. One quick thing before we get into the press conference. The Democratic Socialists of America has revoked its endorsement of AOC just weeks after giving her the endorsement in the first place. Why? Because she held a panel to combat anti-Semitism, and she had the audacity to affirm Israel's right to exist. So what that unendorsement has exposed, if you were not already aware, is the Democrat Socialist ugly anti-Semitism coming from the New York Post editorial board. Even AOC, who's embraced most progressive messaging on Israel, calling the war a genocide, opposing the supply of further weapons to Israel, etc. But recognizing the humanity of Jews seems to be a bridge too far for the national DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. Really, they might as well clear up all the confusion and just call themselves the National Socialists of America. So there you are. Okay. Going back, and I don't want to keep talking about the media. Well, I do want to keep talking about the media, but I don't want to keep talking about my time in the media. But there's a lot of controversy over this Milwaukee radio station that has admitted that it scrubbed multiple remarks from Biden from an interview because the campaign requested it. Now, there should be outrage because the campaign requested it. I will say, at least in radio, it's not that rare or that odd to cut sometimes an answer down to make up for time or because it just wasn't that interesting or whatever. So I'm not really shocked at their editing. I'm shocked for their excuses and that they were pressured by the campaign and caved. It was on the July 3rd interview with the president on the Earl Ingram show. They came out, and it's civic media, and they came out and said that it fell short of journalistic interview standards, that they edited the tape because the campaign said, could you cut that out? That wasn't good. You know, the first edit, this is why I want to share it with you. The first edit came about 5 minutes into the 18-minute long interview, in which Biden claimed, I don't even want to say this on the air, actually. He used antiquated language to describe African Americans. It's not super bad. It just sounds very, well, it's bad, but I mean, it sounds awkward, okay? And then the second one comes as he was talking about the Central Park 5. And he responded because he was, and I don't want to get into the history of it, but he said, I don't know if they even called for the hanging or not, but they said convicted of murder. So they cut those out. Very, again, just an antiquated term. And then that comment there. And they cut those out. But this is where I have the problem. The organization said Ingram's team, quote, viewed the edits as non-substantive. So we know the Biden campaign has been struggling with the African-American vote for quite a while now. We know that the spotlight has been on him because of his gaffes. Those two things combined make those very substantive. So my problem is not even with the edits necessarily. My problem is with the excuse for the edits, because they knew exactly what they were doing. They were propping up, again, the Biden campaign. I just to clear up the confusion, this is the exact quote. I'm going to give the quote. The first edit came about 5 minutes into the 18-minute long interview in which Biden claimed, and I quote, this is from Biden, and in addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all other presidents combined, and in major positions, cabinet positions. So what I'm saying, antiquated, just sounds harsh on the ear. I just didn't want to sound like I was making even worse or something. So they cut that out, and they cut out the other comment, but they thought it wasn't substantive. Well, first of all, you know why it is substantive? Because the campaign asked you to cut it out. So just a little disingenuous there. So if you've been reading that story, I just wanted to mention that to you. Also, speaking of the media, CNN says angry and stunned Democrats blame Biden's closest advisors for shielding public from the full extent of president's decline. Doesn't that sound like the media, again, coming from CNN, saying, yeah, who can we blame this on? Let's blame it on Biden's closest advisors, not us for shielding the public from his decline. We've got to take the spotlight off of us. I was watching, I don't want to give the outlet, but I was watching some coverage before the debate. And to see them spin this as if they had been talking about Biden's decline since the beginning it's cringeworthy in the sense that they have no self-awareness. They have no issue whatsoever with being hypocrites. He said, I'm trying to think who the reporter was now that I say it. But it doesn't matter because I don't want to give names. He or she said something to the extent of, we saw the Juneteenth celebration and we knew something was up. Do you remember the coverage we talked about on this program while it happened? That they were covering that up. It started with in the White House calling it cheap fakes and like that. But they weren't covering that. Come on. It's so frustrating. But angry and stunned Democrats, as if the Democrats didn't know, blame Biden's closest advisors. And then they go on, this is becoming a common theme too. All eyes on Jill. Dr. Jill. I don't know. We got a lot more to talk about. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
It's the Recreation Sports Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
If you're looking tires, do you
You choose a chain that's owned by a corporation and only cares about their profit margins, a place who hasn't been in business very long, or a locally owned tire store who's been around for over 5 decades. The choice is pretty obvious, right? Parmeter Automotive has been in business for over 50 years. You don't make it that long unless you take great care of your customers. Stop into Parmeter Automotive today and see why they've become a staple in our community. With 7 convenient locations, there's a Parmeter Automotive near you.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox.
I mean, just feast your eyes on this. Because if baseball is as American as apple pie, then Fox Saturday Baseball was one heck of a slice. And with these guys on the menu, all you gotta do is sit back, relax, and make some room for a big old elbow. With a cherry on top. Come on, it's Saturday.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I just wanted to mention quickly, if you saw Peter Pan the Musical yesterday on its opening night, or if you go through the weekend, I'd love to hear what you thought. And I thought that interview yesterday was fun with the cast of Peter Pan the Musical. It is running, well, it ran last night, but through the 13th at 7 p.m. and then on the 13th at 2 p.m., and that's at the Corning Painted Post High School Theater, and that's being put on by the Corning Painted Post Middle School Community Show. Also, since I have you, I wanted to bring this to your attention. There is a car wash coming up tomorrow from noon till 3, 1009 Maple Avenue in Elmira, the NBC Reflection Remnant Children's Church Ministry. This is a good idea. Car wash, $12. Okay. But as you get your car washed, how about a hot dog and chips? Total only $15. I think that's a great deal. So help out the NBC, Reflection Remnant Children's Church Ministry at their car wash. Okay. So as you know, Biden introduces Ukraine's Zelensky as President Putin. He did, and he said in the press conference, well, I changed it right away. I was so focused on Putin. He realized it quick, though. I will give him that. So the media was talking about that in the lead up because, boy, the press conference ran late. I think it was originally scheduled for, 6:30? What time did it end up going off? Almost around 7:30, maybe? And then the start was bad. So if you tuned in for the first couple minutes, yes, it was a poor performance. When asked a question, he said, look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president if I think she's not qualified to be president. Literally, journalists who are preconditioned, who are trained, who are indoctrinated to support Democrats could not hold in their gasps and groans. For whatever reason, and I find this very kind of hokey, that it was a big boy press conference. I kept calling it a big boy press conference. I'm not sure where that came from, but it's kind of Washington speak, I suppose. And as one viewer had commented, that they that I think one of the shocking points of the press conference was when he said, quote, "I've been given a list of people to call on." Wouldn't you love to know who came up with that list, why those people were chosen? Because I think the questions weren't necessarily softballs. He said, "With that, I'll take questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here." And then he paused, checked the list. Reuters, Jeff Mason was the first one. But yeah, Vice President Trump was, I would say, his biggest gaffe. I think this keeps him in the race. Now, after the press conference, 3 more House Democrats did call on Biden to drop out of the 2024 race. Representative Jim Himes, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Eric Sorensen, and Representative Scott Peters became the latest in the party to publicly plea for the president to retire. Quote, this is Himes, quote, "The 2024 election will define the future of American democracy, and we must put forth the strongest candidate possible to confront the threat posed by Trump's promised MAGA authoritarianism. I no longer believe that is Joe Biden." Yesterday when we talked with Joe Semplinsky, I thought it was former congressman. I think it was interesting what he had said that, and we've talked about this in the past, that, it's hard to hear people lecture us about the authoritarianism when there was a waging of the lawfare against Trump. This idea that it's a threat to democracy. And I think this spoke to a lot of people that maybe were on the fence about Trump or on the fence about even voting because Dennis Quaid said it, the actor, on a kind of anecdotal note, that's what drew him into Trump. Not that he liked Trump, but the weaponization of the judicial system is a scary precedent for this country. So again, the lecturing on democracy is, I don't know, it falls on deaf ears at times. Trump did mock Biden over the press conference. Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be a vice president if I think she's not qualified to be president, is what the exact quote said. And that's when Donald Trump tweeted out, "Crooked Joe begins his big boy press conference with, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, though I think she was not qualified to be president. Great job, Joe." That's all he said. It wasn't over the top. So the Biden campaign did fire back, saying, "By the way, yes, I know the difference. One's a prosecutor and the other's a felon," meaning that Kamala is the prosecutor and Donald Trump is a felon. And going back to the weaponization of the judicial system, that was the ultimate goal, wasn't it? To get that convicted felon title on the president, the former president. We're going to look at CNN's takeaways from the press conference. We've got other comments from many other people. Mixed bag. We'll hear maybe from David Axelrod, Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul doubling down on her support for Biden. And it's interesting because her lieutenant governor called for the exact opposite, called for Biden to retire. So interesting, a little bit of inter-office politics going on there. We've got so much to talk about. I know it's a busy morning. I feel overwhelmed, and I'm so glad that you're joining us. Stay with us. We'll be back with Frankly Speaking.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Aubrey.
For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro. the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-977-4997. That's 1-800-977-4997, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
And we are back, frankly speaking. I'm looking at all these comments. Boy, we got a lot of comments coming in. Thank you for joining us this morning, by the way. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I got distracted. Okay, first comment. Michelle won't want to leave her Martha's Vineyard lifestyle and go back to work. Yeah, they've got a pretty good lifestyle. But she was never political anyway. I don't think that's telling any tales out of school. Another comment from a viewer. Love when they say Trump is destroying democracy when we live in a representative republic, which Trump supports 100%. Don't believe their twisted words. Thank you. Here's another comment. Think it was great that he did, meaning Biden, did such a good enough job, and to emphasize to stay in the race. I'm hoping people stay on the fence all the way till November. It'll be a solid win for President Trump. Thank you very much. Another comment. I did find that puzzling, the list of media to call on. Still a plan to feign fairness, in my opinion. But bottom line, please tell me when truth went out of style. I don't have the exact date for you. I apologize. Next comment from a viewer. Your show is so predictable. Put down the Democrats no matter what, and put the Republicans on a pedestal. Thank you very much for the comments. We try to read them all here on Frankly Speaking. I don't know what to tell you. If you think that's the case, I would respectfully disagree, but I don't know how to convince you otherwise. From CNN, the takeaway from Biden's critical NATO news conference. This is by Michael Williams. The performance serves as a Rorschach test for nervous Democrats. That's why, again, imagine this. This is kind of fascinating to think about before the debate. That the Democrats want their nominee for President of the United States to have a bad performance. Not all Democrats, but the ones that want Biden out. They want him to have a bad performance. That's kind of, I don't know how many times throughout history that's been the case. Another takeaway, according to CNN, Biden eagerly takes on Trump. Yeah, I thought that was, it really did turn into kind of a campaign press conference. And he went after Trump throughout the whole press conference. And I've got to say, that's one of the reasons why I suggested that this was enough to keep Biden alive in the campaign. Next, Biden brushes off concerns about his campaign, saying, I'm just going to keep moving. I think I'm the most qualified to run for president. I beat him once and I will beat him again, Biden said, referring to Trump. There's a long way to go in this campaign, and so I'm just going to keep moving. And then it's and this is another takeaway from CNN. It's no longer only the Lord Almighty who could convince Biden to drop out, because that's what he originally said to George Stephanopoulos. He was more restrained on Thursday. He reiterated his belief that he's the best qualified to win, as I mentioned. I believe I'm the best qualified to govern, and I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too, excuse me. But it's awful hard to start from scratch. And we talk about, money raised. We're not doing bad. We're going to put $220 million in the bank. We're doing well. And he does have a point there. If you look at the calendar, you look at the time frame, You look at the campaign cash, because really Kamala is the only one that could get that because of paperwork, could get that full war chest. But I do find it interesting from the beginning that Biden, from quite a while ago, Biden said there are many other Democrats that could beat Trump. That was long enough ago that there could have been a competitive race. Now it does get more tricky. This is what's interesting. The news conference, doesn't stop the bleeding as more Democrats defect from Biden. We mentioned that. There are others, but I don't know. I think, well, here's David Harsani at the New York Post. Says Biden was just good enough to save his candidacy, much to the Democrats' dismay. Everyone was waiting to see if the leader of the most powerful nation in the world could answer a few questions without a script. That fact alone tells us that Joe Biden shouldn't be running for another term. But if we grade his performance on the biggest curve in presidential history, then Biden probably did enough to stay in the race. And that's why I mentioned at the beginning of the program, that was my thought. Watching it, there were numerous times where I said, this is probably enough. I don't know if it's going to stop calls for him to retire, but it may not pile on. We did get three more House Democrats. But I think he can make the argument, and his campaign can make the argument that, see, he can still go on. But as David Harsani says, that is terrible news for Democrats. Sure, the president's big boy press conference, which is how John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre ridiculously referred it to, started late. I didn't realize they were the ones that first came up with that big boy press conference. That's weird. Biden was wrapping up the NATO summit. He already started the day poorly while he was talking about President Putin. Biden began his first press conference in 8 months by slurring his way through a campaign speech he read off a teleprompter in front of the international press. Yeah, I would say that was probably the worst part, was the teleprompter. When he was asked a question, we know about Vice President Trump. Later, the president noted that he followed the advice of the commander-in-chief. That was an awkward moment. Bad news, because everything the commander-in-chief said about foreign policy was complete gibberish. Biden assured us that he's pro-union and not labor. When speaking about his love for staff, Biden noted he was catching hell from Dr. First Lady Jill Biden. Still, the presser had all the hallmarks of a latter-day Biden event. Non-sequiturs, mumbling, creepy whispering. Yeah, that did get kind of weird. Inexplicable yelling and rambling rhetorical journeys into verbal cul-de-sacs. Anyway, when he would say that anyway, he answered quite a few that way. In the moments the president was coherent, when he was coherent, he was lying, says David Harsani. Biden's absurd self-aggrandizing was bolstered by a slew of fictitious accomplishments. And I'm not going to go through all the specifics of this. It's possible Biden isn't suffering from dementia, but delusional disorder. It was another bad day for the press, which largely asked irrelevant questions, or ones so broad that Biden could lean back on talking points. And that is a very good point. There were many that threw him essentially softballs, although, again, I think the New York Times was trying to set him up. But, as always, Biden called on a pre-selected list of reporters. Because the debate had set expectations so mind-bogglingly low, it might obscure the fact that none of this is normal. Again, the president refused to share the results of alleged cognitive tests with the public. Yeah, they got to find a better answer for that. He refused to admit that age was a factor. The only thing age does is, quote, create wisdom, he said. If only that were true. Let's be honest, one press conference shouldn't allay the apprehensions of the elite Democrats who turned on Biden once his mental decline was exposed. Because, again, it isn't about the health of the nation, because they knew about this for a long time. It wasn't about the health of the nation. It's about making sure someone's in there that can defeat Trump. It's about electability. They've been covering it up for years, the elites. Now they want to move on. And just because Biden can barely put it together to prepare for a single press conference doesn't mean he's okay. As anyone who has dealt with elderly know, there are good days and bad ones. It has been quite clear for a long time that the president is no longer able to do his job effectively. If the debate was at the bottom, this was barely above it, and yet it might have saved his candidacy. And that was kind of my thought watching it last night. I see a lot more comments coming in, so keep them coming in. You see the number on the bottom of your screen. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us. After the break, well, we got a little bit between then, and we got a guest coming up. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on, 2 guests. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-354-5972. That's 800-354-5972. Again, 800-354-5972.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. More comments coming in. We will never survive 4 more years under Biden. Thank you very much for that comment. Next comment. So glad to hear that text from a Biden supporter. Hope they and more of them are watching Frankly Speaking. Now, to be fair, we don't know that viewers who they support. They just believe my show is so predictable and that I put down Democrats no matter what and put the Republicans on a pedestal. Okay, Democrat Party is in limbo, according to Fox News. One Democrat source told Fox News White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich that Biden's performance yesterday was the, quote, worst possible outcome. The source quipped in a follow-up that it was the worst possible outcome, quote, unless you are Hunter and need a pardon. So Heinrich said why? Because it prolongs him stepping down, where the source texted back, yep. Biden's former White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, said on MSNBC that she thinks the press conference, quote, gave Biden's campaign more time, which for the campaign is a win. It doesn't mean it's a win for the process because his purgatory and this in-between is a real challenge. And the uncertainty is what's a challenge for down-ballot candidates. And that's interesting. The longer it does last, the tougher it becomes to find another candidate or to figure out what the process will ultimately be. Because what did I read today that they're saying it's nearly impossible for him to be replaced on the ballot in Michigan already. But okay, so we gave you, this is what the show does. We gave you one side that said that's enough, or two sides that said that's enough to keep him in. Tony Diver, coming out of the Telegraph, out of the United Kingdom, said Biden looks finished. There's surely no coming back from this. If Joe Biden wanted to design a pair of gaffes to cause his presidency as much damage as possible, it would be hard to do better than his performance on Thursday. But do 2 gaffes, one being President Putin, one referring to Zelensky, which I believe he's done in the past. I may be mistaken on that. And the other major gaffe, of course, saying Vice President Trump. Is that enough to bring down his campaign? I would say there are other things in that. The teleprompter reading was a little awkward. I will say the starting a sentence and ending with, well, anyway, knowing that he lost his train of thought. There were a couple others saying that he listens to the commander-in-chief. But is that enough? And I'll pose this to anyone watching. Do you believe yesterday's performance, whatever you want to call it, press conference, does that sink him? Or does that keep the campaign going? Because I will say when it first started, the teleprompter reading I think is worse than the unscripted Biden. I think Biden did much better unscripted. Do you think that will save or destroy his campaign? The awkwardness at the beginning, the Vice President Trump, but then after that, somewhat normal press conference. We're not talking about the substance of what he had to say. I'm just saying the actual performance of it. Do you think that was enough to save him? But we've got to take a short break. And then when we come back, we're going to have two guests, and I'll explain a little bit more when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, and we'll get your comments in too as well. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99 through this special offer. But wait, this may be your last chance to get Angel View at this low price. There is a strict limit of 2 Angel Views per order while supplies last. Order now.
Call 1-800-869-5346. That's 1-800-869-5346. Or visit getangelview.com. So call 1-800-869-5346.
A little loud. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Haken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselsen studio. So we got a bonus Steuben Senior Services Fund interview this morning. Let me explain a little bit behind this interview. So yesterday, I was sitting here in the studio. I don't remember what about lunchtime. And two young kids were at the window. They seemed excited to see the studio. They wanted to get a picture from the studio, and their father took a photo. And so I thought, naturally, here are two young kids. It's summer break. Kids want to have fun on summer break, so what do? They wake up every morning, 6 a.m., they watch Frankly Speaking, like any reasonable kid would do on summer break. So I thought they were pretty excited to see the Frankly Speaking studio. Turns out that was not the case. It turns out they were from out of town, but they have a really cool story. So we were talking, and I said, why don't we do an interview, and we'll put it on the program this morning. So maybe we'll have, when they're coming back through, they'll have a chance to watch Frankly Speaking again. But hopefully get a chance to watch this morning. So here's our interview from yesterday with Ford and Marlon. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Haken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselsen studio. I have two very special guests in the studio. I'd like to welcome Marlon and Ford. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Hi, thank you.
Now, you guys need to tell us, where are you from?
We are from south of Houston, where Hurricane Beryl just hit.
So what's it look like there? I know you guys were not there when it happened, but have you heard from people on the ground? Yeah.
So trees uprooted, but our house is like fine.
Yeah.
Like we
Good.
still don't have
Thank God.
Yeah, but we still don't have power.
Okay, and I've heard through the grapevine you've been visiting some very special places. Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was so much fun. I liked it.
Yeah. What was your favorite part?
Probably the Smithsonian museums.
Oh,
I
yeah?
like Spy Museum the most.
Oh, yeah? That takes a long time, I hear, to go through the museum, does it?
Oh, yeah. That was like three and a half hours.
Really? How long were you in Washington for?
We were like 10 days. Yeah.
Wow.
About 1 week.
You mean any politicians?
But we did go to the White House. So I learned, like, with the gate used to be like small. This high, and people in just 2 minutes, people would just climb over the fence and start running.
Yeah.
So and then they made it like 11 feet or something.
Yeah. But it's very, and it's farther away, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get. I guess you'd have to run even farther, but no one recommends that. Okay. What made you want to go to Washington so bad?
We just like road trips. We just like road trips. So we went to we went to California. Not California. Oh my gosh.
That's okay. It's live TV.
we went from South Houston to South Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah. And then so we stayed there with my grandfather.
And then we went to another place and wait, it was in North Carolina, right?
It was in North Carolina.
There's no tips on the side. You can't read from the teleprompter. You gotta look at me.
I think it was in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So, what brings you to Corning, though?
We're trying to go through Niagara Falls.
Okay.
And we got a VRBO here.
Oh, okay. And how long are you in Corning for?
We're tonight, and then the day after that we leave.
Okay. Are you going to go see the farmers market?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
It's packed. It's got a lot of good food and a lot of fun things to do. And then next to Niagara Falls, you looking forward to that?
Yes. We're going to see it from both sides, so Canada and U.S.
And then we're going to go into Toronto. Hopefully our car doesn't get stolen.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Any place, even in Corning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long from beginning to end are you going to be on the road, or do you not know when you're going to go back home?
Well, we don't really know because we're just going to come back whenever the power's back on.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be weeks, it could be a couple days.
So, wow, that's interesting. So where do you go from Toronto on the way back as your kill time?
We may just start slowly going down or go a little bit up.
Yeah.
Like go to like the French-speaking places
Yeah.
in Toronto and Canada.
Okay, if there's any place you can go on the road trip other than Corning, where would it be?
That one's hard. The beach.
The beach.
I want to go to the beach.
I'm going to have to say, can it be a state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can it be a state?
I might want to do like a plane to Russia.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be without power for a long time.
Yeah.
Russia, I would never expected that. Is there a reason why?
I
want to see it.
I want to see like everywhere in the world, kind of. I like animals a lot, and I know about animals a lot. So I was just trying to. I want to, because Russia has one of the most endangered species in the world.
No kidding. Well, I hope you can go. I hope that your power comes back before then, but I hope someday you'll be able to make it, okay?
Me too.
So before we go, what would you say to everybody watching in Corning and Elmira?
What?
Well, in Elmira, actually, we thought there was a tornado in Elmira, and it was just a fire truck because we are right by the fire station.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Were you really?
Yeah. Tornado! And, yeah.
So you're not going to say anything to Elmira.
That you should go on road trips more often.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're fun.
Okay. Our next stop will be in your neck of the woods. We'll say hi. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Safe travels.
Yes.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. There we go. There's our new friends to Frankly Speaking. Thank you to Ford and Marlins Wiki. I will say we did it on the rush, so I apologize that the name was not higher up on the screen. I think it went good. I think it was an interesting interview. Isn't that amazing, a road trip like that? They've seen more. They will end up seeing more than I probably have seen in my whole life, though I have seen Washington and Niagara, so I guess I can't say that, but I've never been to Texas. But thank you so much for being on the program. See, we always have fun here on Frankly Speaking. I bet you didn't expect that this morning. We've got a lot more to talk about when it comes to yesterday's press conference. Feel free to weigh in at any time. What did you think? The question we're posing this morning, do you think that it sinks Biden's campaign, like many in the media have been saying, or do you think it bolsters his campaign enough to keep it going? One comment from a viewer says, quote, I really believe that they are milking this and prolonging this as long as they can because Democrats who will support a Democrat, no matter what, will be so glad to have anybody else that they will vote for a candidate that they may not know anything about or have the time to do adequate research on. Thank you very much. Keep the comments coming in. We have to take a short break, and then hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Michael Joseph will be our guest in the 7 o'clock hour, so please stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. I got to look at what break it is. After this.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
I'm Mary Unkert. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Look at this comment from a viewer. The Texas kids were an unexpected delight. Yes, Ford and Marlon stopping by, seeing our beautiful city of Corning. Thank you for that message. I thought it was a fun interview too. That's why we decided to record it and put it on the air. I'm glad you liked it. We got some waves coming in. So as I mentioned, the media has been kind of a back and forth, depending on what outlet you go to. And I don't mean conservative outlet versus a liberal outlet. I mean just depending on who maybe the journalist is who's reporting on it. Because many are saying that this keeps Biden in the race, meaning yesterday's press conference. But then you have the other side, like I was mentioning before we went to break, Tony Diver, who says he's finished because of this. I'm posing it to you. Oh, here's another comment. What a fun interview with the boys. Yeah, there you go. See, we got new fan favorites. Former Congressman Joe Sempolinski may be bumped for Ford and Marlon. Yeah, I thought that was a fun interview too. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. So talking about such heavy stuff and then having such a fun interview. But Biden looks finished. There's surely no coming back from this. I will say never at one point did I watch that press conference. Should I say that? No. Maybe at first because the teleprompter reading was a little bit shaky. And then when he said Vice President Trump, I thought maybe there's no coming back from this. Maybe this is debate part 2. But then after that, I thought, okay, this keeps the campaign going. That was my initial thought. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear your thought, because I could very easily be persuaded else. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. I just think that the campaign could keep going after this. My initial reaction was this could end the campaign after the weekend. Monday, maybe he makes the announcement. I know some were speculating that he was going to make the announcement yesterday during the press conference. Of course, that did not happen. But I thought, maybe Monday. But I think there's enough to keep him going. David Axelrod, because we give you every side. This is what I'm saying. This is what's so important about the show. CNN senior political commentator and former Obama advisor David Axelrod said on The Source on CNN, said when he was asked those questions, he really didn't have a great answer for what people should expect in the future based on what they're seeing now. So I don't think that's changed much. I think that a lot of attitudes have now been kind of hardened. I don't think he's going to change them. Wow. So it's over. I mean, in David Axelrod's opinion, there's no coming back from, I guess, a debate performance. One last thing. He said at the end that he might change his mind if his team came to him and told him that he couldn't win. But they haven't done that, or that someone else had a better chance of winning. If that's the case, then they're not really leveling with him about where the race is at. And they really should. It's not fair to him if they're not telling him the truth. He is in a very, very tough spot. I don't know anyone in politics who would tell you, who looks at the numbers, that what we see would tell you that he has a good chance of winning this race, and that perhaps others wouldn't have a better chance to win the race. He needs to know that. He knows that. Listen, this is a history of Biden. Biden has kind of a stubbornness, and I don't mean that in a negative or biased way, a stubbornness. There's a close friend of his spoke, I believe it was on anonymity. I don't have it right in front of me. I shouldn't have jumped ahead. But said he hates the elitist. He hates the power makers, the kingmakers in the Democrat Party. So them pushing him out just kind of strengthens his resolve. So Axelrod is a power mover, a power or a kingmaker. He also said, and I think Axelrod has a good point here. This is on CNN's The Source. He said, well, first of all, my assessment was that they made a smart move by having this at the NATO conference, almost like the State of the Union. He's so comfortable in that environment in the Congress and at a NATO conference, which is his strong suit. And in the second half of that press conference, you saw that that's his comfort zone. He's very, very influential on national security issues. And that showed in those answers. And some of the answers you played, you saw some of the problems, the misspoken names, the stumbles. Again, out of all the gaffes through all the years by Biden, the names getting confused by either the Putin one or the Trump one, coming off that debate are very kind of shocking. At the same time, that is kind of typical for Biden. So I guess it wasn't a game changer in my mind, though the Trump one was maybe a little bit bigger than normal of his errors, but he has a history of this. Continuing with Axelrod, the other thing is once he says I need to allay people's concerns, and so I have to be out there more and I have to do more. And at the same time, he complained about the length of his schedule and said they were putting too many things on my schedule, and that's why I didn't do well in the debate. And that's really the issue. The issue isn't about his record or history, it's about his ability to move forward. And when he was asked those questions, he really didn't have a great answer for what people should expect in the future. And I think Axelrod has a good point there. We got to get out there more, let people know who I am. But then at the same time, he's complaining that his schedule is just a little bit too busy. Not a little bit too busy, way too busy. Michael Moore, I don't know if Michael Moore has the political power he once did. At one time when he's making the documentary films and they were popular, a lot of people put way too much credence in him, too much credit to his career and to his films. But I will say back in 2016, he was a Democrat that was kind of screaming from the rooftops saying, Trump's probably going to win this thing. If you don't understand that he's reaching to the working class people, you're making a mistake. Hillary, and Hillary, of course, was reaching out to the kind of the quote-unquote elites with the Hollywood celebrities and the like. He was on CNN's Newsnight. This is Michael Moore, a liberal documentary filmmaker. He said, yes, I believe if you love Joe Biden, you never should have sent him out there on the stage that night, meaning the debate. I mean, imagine if it was your father, your grandfather, wherever. It was heartbreaking to watch a person freeze like that. It wasn't about the gaps or flubs or whatever. It was about clearly something was wrong. If you have parents or grandparents, if you're over 50 years old, you've seen what that decline looks like. And you can't, as George Clooney said yesterday, can't tell 51 million people who watched what we saw that didn't happen. It happened and you can't unsee it. He also said, where was it? I thought he talked more about I thought I had it here. It must have got cut off. But he said, okay, maybe Americans, but we're not stupid. Please don't tell us things like he had a cold or was jet lagged or any of that stuff, kind of like he did yesterday during the press conference. Don't fib to us like that. The fibbing is from the other side. That's the Trump way of doing things. Don't do that to us. We know what we saw. Something's wrong. Tell us what's wrong. If anything's wrong, there's nothing wrong with asking the question. And that's why it seems like his campaign and his advisor would come up with a better answer, because it's going to come up again about releasing the cognitive tests. I don't think that was a solid answer. But again, we're not talking about necessarily the substance of the answers this morning. We're talking about, do you think that was enough to keep the campaign going? Or do you think within the next few days, maybe after the weekend, we could see the campaign, or I shouldn't put it that way, Biden retire? Chris Matthews, I'm telling you, we're giving all sides of this. And this is what's interesting. You have what you would consider liberal anchors and liberal, quote-unquote, journalists or talking heads, pundits, how about that? All having different responses from it saves him till he's out. This is what Chris Matthews said on Morning Joe. He said he's a politician who's been good at it, meaning Joe Biden. Yeah, we mentioned this yesterday on the program. He's been a politician his whole life. He's been reelected every time since then in Delaware with pretty healthy majorities. And life, he lost his wife and he lost his daughter and he found Jill. Now, who's going to listen to Jill or George Clooney? Who's he going to listen to, Jill or George Clooney? I'm telling you, it's personal. He's had the elite, and it's also true. I think people are using AI now to try to, or some type of thing, and it makes all these typos in it. But he hates the elite, and it's so true about the elite. He is absolutely right about the elite. Look at President Obama. He served for 8 years loyally, and yet Obama backed Hillary Clinton for president, and he didn't back him. But I hear he never even invited him upstairs. He had a good reason to be resentful, but he isn't. He puts up with it with the elite. But right now, he's got the poor people. But right now, he's got the poor people, he added. This is Chris Matthews. This sounds really weird to me. He's got minorities, he's got the Hispanics, he's got the labor. He's going to hold that base of the Democrat Party, which he will need in November. And I'm telling you, people are going to end up rooting for him in October because he will have a comeback. And in this elite fashion attack on him, they're going to pay for it. But in the end, they're going to end up voting for him. So I think Biden will be the little guy. He'll be the Democrat in this race, the true Democrat. And he's going to get people to turn for him in October. And it's going to be stunning. He is not quitting. He's not built to quit. That's what I think. And I think it's the most important thing we're going to resolve here tonight, meaning at the press conference. So the elite, he lives off the elites attacking him and overcoming that. A CEO friend of Joe Biden said that there's no way he's dropping out. He hates the party elites. So that is, I'm not going to use the word, the kind of the loaded term talking point, but that's what many people are thinking is, many people think is going through his mind right now about whether he will stay or go. When you have the George Clooney's, when you have, the David Axelrod, when you have those type of people coming out and calling for him to step down, it just gives him more resolve, it gives him more kind of hard-headedness in a politically positive way to stay in the race. But the CEO friend of Biden being interviewed by Charles Gasparino for Fox Business, also a columnist for the New York Post, he said there's no blanking way he's dropping out, the friend said. Joe Biden couldn't care less what the elite and his party thinks, what the elite fundraisers think, or anyone else. He really hates them. He really hates them. I worded that strange. He'll take their money, but he knows they look down on him as some rube. Plus, he thinks he's earned the presidency after trying so many times, and there's no way he's giving up to go down in history as a loser who dropped out because he isn't tough enough. He only cares about his wife and family, and he will tell everyone else to blank off. All right, we got to take a short break. We got a lot of comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back. But frankly speaking, as I mentioned, Michael Joseph, is coming up on the program a little bit later on. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Isn't your most important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
But they're bulky, awkward, and never put the breeze exactly where you want it. Introducing My Foldaway Fan from Bell & Howell, the compact cordless fan that unfolds into your own personal wind machine and extends to nearly 4 feet high. Its lightweight, portable design makes it easier than ever to have a targeted breeze anywhere. Plus, this whisper-quiet fan has 3 separate speeds, making personalizing your comfort a breeze. My Foldaway Fan's rechargeable lithium battery lasts up to 10 hours, and it has enough power to blast a breeze to the other side of this room. Its unique telescoping stand allows you to place it on the floor, so the breeze will reach anywhere with ease. Then the whole thing folds away for easy storage. Get My Foldaway Fan from Bell & Howell for just 2 payments of $19.99. It comes with the USB cable to make charging fast and easy. My Foldaway Fan. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-349-4156. That's 1-800-349-4156 or go to myfoldawayfan.com.
Overlooking historic Market Street. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're having a blast this morning. Thank you for joining us here on Frankly Speaking. So many comments coming in. We'll start with this one. I'm so confused on who are currently in the top 2 jobs in our government. I have heard Biden say he is the president. I've heard Biden refer to President Harris. I've heard Biden refer to himself as the first black woman vice president. I've heard Biden refer to Vice President Trump. I've heard Biden say he was talking with the commander-in-chief, who I thought was the president. I'm a simple man. Please help me understand who is in control of our country. Thank you very much, Ken. It's a very, very good point. That made me laugh this morning when I read it. Thank you. Another comment, and I don't have the answer, obviously. I don't think anybody does. Next comment. I feel the comment about you being biased towards Democrats is not accurate. If you're just joining us this morning, we received a comment early on. I mean, hey, we tried to read all comments here that just said that I'm predictable. Where is it? Your show is so predictable. Put down the Democrats no matter what, and then put the Republicans on a pedestal. I will say one thing. Whatever you think about that comment, doesn't matter to me. I appreciate the comment, as a matter of fact. I will say, at least I was honest with you and reported on Biden's decline. I think that's more than other outlets can say. And we weren't doing it just after the debate, by the way, too. We were actually bringing you the news that you couldn't get elsewhere. But again, I do appreciate the comment. So back to this post. That's just a key, catch you up if you weren't watching the 6 o'clock hour. I feel the comment about you being biased towards Democrats is not accurate. I think you simply point out the truths, and the real bias is by ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and many others so-called news media. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Yes. So one thing I think many of us do, I don't know if you do this, I tried to look at various outlets, either before or after an event like yesterday. I did it with the debate as well. To see them spin, it reminds me of the Hunter Biden story, but to have to play catch up and pretend that they had been covering Biden's decline the whole time, it was laughable. So I was watching, I don't want to say what I like because I can't honestly remember because I was flipping around so much, but to see them say, well, we were talking about Juneteenth. No, you weren't. You weren't talking about that event. Here's another comment. If he does step down, there'll be no more debate. Shame on the news media for not showing him in decline. I cannot agree more. It was such a disservice. And the only reason they're talking about it now, we have to remember this. This is an important point to drive home. The only reason the media is talking about this now is not because of the health and safety of the country. They're not worried about international issues. They're not worried about anything else. It has nothing to do with his decline affecting this country. It's all because it affects his electability after that debate. It's all about, can he or can he not defeat the man that they hate so much, Donald Trump? And they feel that after the debate that he cannot defeat Trump. And that's why the media is reporting on it, because it was the first time that live broadcast did or showed the world what the media should have been showing us the whole time, which was the decline of the President of the United States of America. But the only reason they're reporting on this, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the only reason they're reporting on this is because it affected his electability. And you see that in the interviews now. They're not even hiding that fact. I mean, Chuck Todd admitted yesterday, we talked about it with the former congressman. Chuck Todd admitted yesterday that a cabinet member told him 2 years ago that Biden should not run for re-election. And Chuck Todd said it as, oh yeah, I've known it forever. Then why did you not tell the American people? If that would have been a Trump cabinet member, would you have sat on that for 2 years? So back to the comment from the person saying bias, that my show's bias. We were reporting on it. Is Chuck Todd sitting on something like that for 2 years? Is that a bias? Is that propping up, putting on a pedestal perhaps a Joe Biden or a Democrat? I think that's a fair question. And oh, hey, Ken, and I know you're still watching. Here is a comment from a viewer. Ken took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, I like that comment, Ken. Thank you so much. Sam Lyman from CNN says Biden has a chance for a graceful exit. He should take it. Will he stay or will he Joe? It's the most pertinent question in American politics. Biden faces a stark choice. Will he follow the path of Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein or Republican Senator Orrin Hatch? I would add, and former Congressman Joe Semplinsky said it perfectly yesterday, it'll be like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, yes, there's still people, because she was a liberal justice, that still, admire her. But boy, they turned on her after she passed. There's a lot of people that turned on her. The merchandise and the shirts and you saw it at the time, kind of the pop culture stuff faded away when they realized what that actually led to. So will it be a scenario like this? And will it erase Joe Biden's legacy? Because really the biggest point to Democrats, his legacy, the biggest part of his legacy is that he defeated Donald Trump. So doesn't that erase it all if he loses in November? It's a simple choice between Feinstein and Hatch, they read at CNN. To safeguard the American experiment, Biden and other members of the old guard would do well to follow Hatch. To safeguard the American experiment. So it's just not even, it's fact to those in the media that democracy is threatened because of Trump. Never mind the lawfare that's been waged under this administration. Never mind trying to keep him, meaning Trump, off the ballot. Democracy is only being threatened, I should say, by Trump. And the media reports that as a bona fide fact. Now, Governor Hochul, and this is before, by the way, the press conference, but just to tie it in with New York. Yes, I know I'm running late, darn it. She did double down on her support for Biden. And if you weren't following it yesterday, her lieutenant governor, Delgado, called for the president to drop out. So that's awkward for Hochul to have those two at odds. But Governor Hochul said about Biden having doubled down, saying he is in command. It's not a surprise that there are various voices that emerge with different opinions within the Democrat Party. I stand firmly with the president. There you go. Okay, here we go. A few comments from viewers. Well, you know what? I better not read these live on the air, just to be on the safe side, because I get distracted. Let me take a break. When we come back, we are going... No, I have one more break, and then we're going to talk to our friend Michael Joseph. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
It's wild, it's Western, it's Reese Ranch Rodeo. Looking for a new exciting adventure? Join the cowboys and cowgirls at Reese Ranch Rodeo. Fun for the whole family. Kids 5 and under are free. Gates open at 2 p.m. Rodeo starts at 7. Enjoy great music, great food, cold drinks, and classic rodeo fun. For event dates and ticket prices, visit ReeseRanchRodeo.com. Reese Ranch Rodeo, 4115 Oldfield Drive, Corning, next to Fair and Ball Campgrounds.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. I mean, just feast your eyes on this. Because if baseball is as American as apple pie, then Fox Saturday Baseball was one heck of a slice. And with these guys on the menu, all you gotta do is sit back, relax, and make some room for a big old helper with a cherry on top.
And we are back, frankly speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us Friday morning. So many comments coming in. Let's get to them. My big question is, does mainstream media bias in favor of Biden or is the government blackmailing them into compliance having a good point? I think a lot of it could be the owners. I think there's a culture in the media. And I think I know I've seen it firsthand. I think there's a culture in the media that the cool kids at the table are on the left. And if you want to get invited to the cocktail party of a Democrat. Also, if you look at journalism school, you're essentially taught that you have to be liberal. There's really no other way to be. Also, another comment, all new debates should be Trump rules on Fox, as he had a away game debate, now home game debate, a no-hitter debate. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It'll never happen. I can't say this again after I was so wrong last time. I don't know if there'll be another debate. There will be, of course, if Biden steps down and is replaced. But I don't know. I mean, that could be the ultimate momentum getter. If Biden comes back, does that debate in September, and does a fair enough job, yeah, maybe. Oh, my music was still playing. I apologize over that, folks. Do you want me to go back? And I'm going to go back and read the comments. Yes, I'm sorry. It does that every once in a while. I'm not sure the answer for that. So let me read these points again. This is a comment from a viewer. My big question is, does mainstream media's bias in favor of Biden come from the media owners, or is the government blackmailing them into compliance? My personal opinion is they're so indoctrinated at journalism school that they have to be the left. I think on the left, I think the owners want to be a part of the cool kids table, just to paraphrase what I said earlier, and want to be invited to the cocktail parties where you might see a George Clooney, where you might see a Barack Obama. So I think there's a lot of moving pieces there. But the government blackmailing them into compliance, that could be the case. I'm not sure. Another comment. Look at all these waves coming. Another comment. All new debates should be Trump rules on Fox, as he had a away game debate, now home game debate, a no-hitter debate. I don't know if there'll be a debate. Time will tell. Biden aides believe that Obama is plotting Joe's ouster. We mentioned it yesterday during our interview with Joe Semplinsky, the breaking news that Obama really had the say one way or the other whether or not Clooney would release it, and gave him the go-ahead. Joe Biden is deeply resentful of his treatment. Now, only of the Obama staffer, but also the way he was pushed aside for Hillary Clinton. He's always felt like an outsider, always felt like people looking down upon him, Scarborough said. Obama attended, did help the fundraisers. We don't want to go through all of Clooney, but they believe Obama's behind the scenes working for this. Okay. Oh, here's some more comments. Okay. Good. Okay. That one's a long one. So earlier we mentioned some of the comments we were receiving. Here's one. Frank, thanks for being so predictable. I'd question your cognition if you weren't. I'd question your cognition if you weren't. I haven't questioned it, but I can. I never really thought about it. I'm not running for president of the United States, though. I'm just running a morning talk show. So there you go. Thanks for being so predictable. That's our second most predictable. I don't know. I guess I'll stop reading both sides of the news. I apologize. Is that predictable? Some Biden advisors are discussing how to convince him to step down. Do you believe the anonymous sources? I guess from so many years of anonymous sources proving to be untrue or proving to be completely incorrect, I don't know if I believe that Biden advisors are discussing how to convince him to step aside. We've got to take a break because our good friend Michael Joseph is joining us in the next segment. So don't go anywhere. One quick thing, though, I want to remind you about the MBC Reflection Remnant Children's Church Ministry holding the car wash this Saturday, tomorrow, from 12 to 3 at 1009 Maple Avenue in Elmira. So you can get your car washed. Perfect. Especially with this weather, get your car washed for $12. But as your car is being washed, why not have a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a drink for $15? So best of luck to the MBC Reflection Remnant Children's Church Ministry on their fundraiser, and I hope everybody can make it out and help that great cause. All right, we got to take a break. Michael Joseph, when we come back. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groove. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program. And joining us in on the interview, Michael and Deborah Joseph. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
now, explain to us why you're here, because I'm starting kind of blind, and I was hoping, we had a quick conversation yesterday, I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about why you're in here today.
Right. So, we've been here many times talking about things like the Tuskegee Airmen. Mm-hmm. And my family is from a tiny island in the Caribbean called Carriacou.
Okay.
Grenada, Carriacou. And one of the relatives that we had, George M. Fleury, he was from Carriacou, a cousin of mine who served in World War II. He was a Tuskegee Airman.
Okay.
And Grenada underwent Hurricane Beryl, and Carriacou bore the brunt of that hurricane, and it was a disaster over there. And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that people are aware of the ongoing needs of the people, and I'm going to share some of that with you.
Well, and I know we've heard about the hurricane, of course, and some of the devastation, but I don't think we're hearing about all of the devastation. You were telling me a little bit. I mean, they're almost completely wiped out.
Yeah. Well, let me give you, share with you the Red Cross report on it. So on Thursday, July 4th, the Grenada Red Cross team conducted a rapid assessment and witnessed firsthand the near total devastation of the island of Carriacou. 98% of the homes, buildings, and critical infrastructure, hospital, electricity, water, communications were knocked out. Urgent needs in Carriacou and Petite Martinique are water, food, including infant formula, clothing, baby products, shelter materials and temporary shelters, tarps, hygienic materials, medical supplies, and water. Now, if you wish to donate to the Grenada Red Cross hurricane relief efforts, there's some banking information that we can post.
Okay.
And so you'll have that. But across the United States, there are several of us who hail from Carriacou. My parents were born there, and I was born in the United States, but still have strong ties. I've been going back since the 60s.
Oh, really? So are you able to hear, you've been going so often, are you able to hear anything from the ground, or just reports like that from the Red Cross?
So right now, because telecommunications have been down, the cell towers were just ripped away. It was difficult to get through to people. So several days have passed since the hurricane made landfall last week, and it took about 4 days for me to get a communication back from one of my relatives over there.
Does there seem to be a lot of help on the ground?
Right now, there are a few generators being put up, but the devastation is so complete, and people are have started to arrive. In fact, there's a newscaster that is on site that was that actually witnessed the roof coming off of the hotel that he was in.
Wow.
And so there's some video, and we can see if we can get some of that
please
overhead drone video to show.
So you just recommend, kind of before we go, because there's not a lot of information, we're not getting a lot of information. Right. Is there any place that you'd recommend other than the Red Cross that people go to find out updates on the ground, or is it too early for that even?
Definitely. You can get updates by going to YouTube, and there are news agencies that were covering this.
Okay.
And people on the ground with cameras that are taking video and getting assessments. I mean, if you want to find out the level of devastation, just go to YouTube and search under Hurricane Beryl, B-E-R-Y-L, and Carriacou, C-A-R-R-I-A-C-O-U, Grenada, and you will see the depth of it.
For someone that's been there so often, like you said, since the 60s, how heartbreaking is it for you to see those photos?
It was pretty tough. Yeah. And that first night was, it really broke my heart to see that. And you'll see my mother's home, and there's some video of me talking about it talking about the landscape and from my mother's veranda, and then I'll show an overhead drone photo of the devastated house with part of the roof ripped away.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of my cousins in that region that I'll be showing, their homes were damaged, and you could see them. You know, there's a section of the island that my family is from, and so there's a lot of devastation over there.
Now, have you seen the photos as well?
Oh yeah, I've seen the photos and just seeing the differences before and after the hurricane. I mean, it is really sad to see the devastation there. I mean, the people there are just so kind and so hardworking. So it's heartbreaking to see what has happened to their homes.
And how do they come back from something like this with that much destruction? I mean, not to sound overly negative, but it sounds like almost it's overwhelming.
It feels a little overwhelming. Part of it is the geography, I think. You know, Grenada is the main island, and Carriacou is a tiny island off of Grenada. So in order to get anything to Carriacou, you know, you have to take it to Grenada and then either take a slow boat or a freight plane or something to get to Carriacou. So just the logistics of getting supplies to Carriacou is overwhelming.
Yeah, and they have seen this kind of devastation before. Hurricane Ivan came through 20 or so years ago, and before then, you know, it's about every 20, 25 years that this sort of thing happens. But this, it has not been quite this devastating to this degree.
Okay.
Where I watched an extensive video of that news person, and I'm forgetting his name. He travels across the country, roads that have been cleared, but power lines are down, and they're weaving through power lines and down trees, and boats up on the shore. You know, it's quite extensive, the damage, but they do rebuild every time this happens. They rebuild.
So they will prevail. It's just a matter of when, and that's why they need help. Are you afraid that because there was so much destruction in the wake of this hurricane that they'll be overlooked, or that it's a slower process because there is a lot of need?
It's not going to be overlooked.
No,
I mean, this reaches the level of an international crisis, and it so happens that the United Nations czar on climate change happens to come from Carriacou.
Okay.
So Simon Steele was appointed to that position, I think just a couple of years ago, maybe two or so years ago. And Deborah and I, actually my sister and I, were visiting their island home at that time, his parents' home, and we got the good news, and Simon was able to, he was present at that time. We congratulated him upon his UN appointment, and we're certainly proud of our cousin.
Of course.
So because of him and the attention that has been paid on global warming, climate change, and the effects that we see right there, where just at that house and other locations where the beach used to be 20 feet or so from the shore, and now the waters are lapping right up against the back of their water break.
Right.
We have seen a dramatic change in the rise of sea level, and it's undeniable.
So just before we go, again, we'll put that up on the screen, but the Red Cross is the best place for now, and you'll keep us updated on anything that you hear?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
It is a beautiful morning in Carriacou in the Grenadines. Behind me is the Terrell Bay. This is a bay that's popular for the yachtsmen that come here, and the downtown is there. And so there's shopping available for people. You know, it's a well-protected harbor. And so even though storms may come, it's very calm. If you were to look just at, this is our house here, and behind me is McAneal Bay. And this is a bay that has less harbor protection, but it's a beautiful bay. And our family, I'm talking about the larger family here, has owned this area, about 250 acres on this tip of the island for about 100 years. And most of these homes here are family homes. People that have lived here, or some have lived in England, some in the U.S., and over the years, you know, upon retirement, they come back home. So my sister Valerie and I are here. It is March 29th, 2022. We first started coming back in 1965. You know, it's about 55 years ago. And a lot of these homes were not around back then. This was just open country. And a few little homes, but times have changed.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
The world pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't fit one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're gonna drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much to Michael Joseph for being on the program. The best way to donate, redcross.org. So thank you to Michael Joseph, good friend of Frankly Speaking. All right, so many comments to get to. If people can't see Biden as having issues, there is a problem. Didn't anyone else notice how Biden spoke? Very slow and few words at a time. And his eyes went still throughout the entire speech as he seemed to be listening to someone and possibly repeating what they said. At one point he said, "I'm catching hell for my wife." We wonder if he had a microphone in his ear that no one could see. You know, I thought about this when I read the comment. I've never had that happen. I know news reporters can do it. But everything you get here on Frankly Speaking is right up here, for better or for worse. So I've never had that. That would seem so distracting to me. I would think that would be more difficult. I don't know. I'm just playing off what you said. I've never experienced that. Next comment. Oh, I've got to say this. I mentioned this earlier. And this is so fascinating to me about how text messaging and maybe an email can be misread. So earlier in the program, someone said I'm predictable and then I'm biased. Okay. So this person wrote, and I'm going to read it in two different ways. Okay. This is the first way. This is how I read it. Frank, thanks for being so predictable. I'd question your cognition if you weren't. So I thought, wow. Okay, that's too predictable. Another person doesn't like my show. But I said, boy, they waved before they said that. Most people don't say something negative before they wave. So, or after they wave. So I went back and reread it. And I like it better this way. And it's confirmed that I believe it's confirmed that it's the second way. Frank, thank you for being so predictable in that sense. Thanks for being so predictable. I'd question your cognition if you weren't, meaning if you weren't so predictable. So it's interesting how text can be taken out of context. I guess it's all what you're thinking. Okay, next question. And thank you for this. Tell every American that the moving wall is at Williamson High School. Yes, we had that great reporting from Sonia Ellison from Big Fox News at 10 on yesterday's program, talking about that moving tribute, the moving wall. Highly recommend it to everyone. I've seen it in the past, but it's back in the area, Williamson High School. Hopefully everyone can make it out. Next, we have a comment watching the program. And they ask the question, not ask the question, they say this has got to be a first. They're watching the program live from the University of Tennessee, on the campus of University of Tennessee. They even sent a photo, and I didn't ask permission if I could show the photo, so I got to see the photo. But right on campus, watching Frankly Speaking. So yes, that is definitely a first. Thank you so much. All right. I think we're good. We're playing a little catch-up here. According to CNN, Obama and Pelosi privately expressed concerns over Biden. Now, there's a couple things here. Whoever said this to CNN, the anonymous source, they got permission to say it. Or there is no anonymous source. Where do you fall? I sometimes fall on the fact that there is no anonymous source. I really do. Now, I mentioned this earlier. This is just an update before we go to break. It's almost impossible for Biden to be replaced on the ballot in Michigan and other states, is what a Democrat county clerk is saying. The Democratic Party would face considerable challenges in replacing President Biden on the Michigan ballot, according to the county clerk, who is a Democrat herself. Michigan is a must-win state for Democrats, and it's gone for the presidential winner in every election since 2008. Former state legislator Barb Barham tweeted Wednesday, Ingham County clerk Barb Barham here, to all of those calling for a change of candidacy in the presidential race, please note that the election administration community is going to have some serious issues with that. They talk about the obstacles. That's another interesting facet to all this. Let's take a short break, and then we're going to wrap things up. I can't believe it. Another example of how we could go 3 hours, just like yesterday with Joe Sempolinski. Seemed like we were just getting started. And here we are wrapping things up. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you're looking for new tires, do you choose a chain that's owned by a corporation and only cares about their profit margins, a place who hasn't been in business very long, or a locally owned tire store who's been around for over 5 decades? The choice is pretty obvious, right? Parmeter Automotive has been in business for over 50 years. You don't make it that long unless you take great care of your customers. Stop into Parmeter Automotive today and see why they've become a staple in our community. With 7 convenient locations, there's a Parmeter Automotive near you.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro. the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order, call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com. All right, we got permission. Let me see if I can pull this off. I had mentioned that we got a text from a viewer that they are watching live from the University of Tennessee, and I said I did not get permission to show that photo, but I did end up getting permission to show the photo, so that means they are indeed watching live from the University of Tennessee. Here we go. Let's see if I can show it. There you go. Live on campus. We're everywhere. Frankly Speaking is going everywhere. Thank you for sending that in. We are just about out of time. Did we get through everything? I got to get back to our main comments in case we get any last-minute comments coming in. Oh, here's one. I shouldn't have ended the program with this. I should have brought this up a lot earlier. Jen Psaki, who yesterday said after the press conference that she believes it was enough to keep the campaign going, meaning the Biden campaign going. She said before that, this is before the press conference, she declared Vice President Kamala Harris is the best candidate to replace President Biden as the Democratic nominee if he withdraws. But she mourned. She mourned that the sexist and racist country might reject her. This was on the podcast Pod Save America. There's a lot of really amazing Democrats on the bench, but because of the timeline and everything, I think it's clearly Kamala Harris. However, she later posed a theory as to why the vice president isn't more popular. Quote, it's almost like public opinion hasn't caught up with what she's doing out there. And also, we live in a country that is sexist and racist. So, there is that. Now, remember, she worked for the Biden administration. She believes the country is sexist and racist. It couldn't be because of the continued disastrous interviews, speeches that she's given, her performance when she ran for president of the United States. It couldn't be the fact that she was supposed to be the border czar, and we see the open and porous border. It has to be, if you don't support Kamala Harris, according to Jen Psaki, this is not my opinion. This is not me showing that bias, supposedly. I am quoting Jen Psaki here. That, and I quote, we live in a country that is sexist and racist. So, there is that. I don't know. That statement's so weird to me. So, there's that. Okay. Keep that in mind. I bet you're starting to feel guilty now if you don't support Kamala Harris. Is that what that tactic is? It's supposed to make you feel guilty or maybe convince you that I better vote or Jen Psaki is going to think I'm sexist and racist. George Clooney is changing his tune on Biden. Just show how pathetic Democrats are, says Douglas Murray. In the same way that Joe Biden thinks, what would Hunter suggest when he wonders about staying in office? Whenever I enter the voting booth, I always think, what would George Clooney do? Those of us who rely on Hollywood actors for our political views don't get them often enough. So how very lucky we were to get one of these Biden-Harris email lists last month when we got a personalized email from Clooney himself. It's George Clooney, it opened. How the heart sang. George Clooney is emailing me. This is a hilarious piece. I wish I would have mentioned it before, but we can't bring it all out. But perhaps Clooney and Kamala could try to work out their differences, and who knows, maybe that will be the ticket. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I want to thank our friends Ford and Marlin Zwicky on their road trip across the country for joining us on the program this morning. We filmed that yesterday, but a nice surprise guest, and they are now a fan favorite. So I hope they have safe travels. I also want to thank Michael Joseph for being on the program. If you do go this weekend to see Peter Pan the musical. It will be tonight and tomorrow at 7 p.m. or tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, at 7 p.m. and then on Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Corning Planning Post High School. I'd love to hear what you think of it. On Monday, I'll read those comments. Have a great, fun, safe weekend. This has been a great week, folks. This has been a fun week of Frankly Speaking, as it always is, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. We will be back Monday morning with Frankly Speaking, starting at 6 a.m. only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, as I said, have a fun, safe weekend, and we will see you bright and early Monday morning. I look forward to it already.
If you're looking for new tires, do you choose a chain that's owned by a corporation and only cares about their profit margins? A place who hasn't been in business very long? Or a locally owned tire store who's been around for over 5 decades? The choice is pretty obvious, right? Parmeter Automotive has been in business for over 50 years. You don't make a